Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sons and Daughters of Liberty. I figured it's appropriate, since tomorrow is Independence Day, to do a hour-long show, talking about why we celebrate Independence Day, the importance of it, the meaning behind it, which I think has been lost a little bit with all the stuff we've been being bombarded with, all the information overload. With all this rhetoric that's flying around. I think it's kind of important sometimes to get back to the understanding, the importance of why we celebrate Independence Day, why we have a Constitution, Bill of Rights, why we value freedom, which many things is, we celebrate tomorrow, we celebrate our Independence Day, which, is a very concept that many countries around the world that hate about our country. The fact that we have all these freedoms, these liberties. We see it all every day on social media platforms, how our freedom of speech is always under attack. We've had congressmen tell the social media platforms they need to censor, they need to control the speech, the narrative. And it's been brewing to the point that we've all heard the rhetoric the last couple of weeks. Now, then I come across a post. I'm actually going to stop sharing. The link's in the description for this post for those that want to read it. By the way, guys, if you're actually watching, you're probably going to have to type in chat so I know. Because here lately, well, at least the last video I did, when I finished the stream, it said I had 17 views. But the whole time it said I had 0 or 1 viewer watching the whole time. So if I'm not interacting with the chat, I don't know. I'm no longer going to trust what YouTube says when we have how many people's watching or viewing, which just goes once more to show you the censorship that takes place, trying to discourage you. That don't work with me, as we all know. I could care less about numbers, but if I catch them doing it again, I am going to have a real problem with it. Especially the next time I get a message saying that they were interacting in my chat and it didn't show up in my chat. Well, me and YouTube's going to have a problem. You know, I'm beyond sick of these social media platforms censoring, playing with algorithms, violating my constitutional rights, my free speech. But I found an interesting article that was shared today on Twitter from somebody I follow. And it wasn't interesting, and it kind of pissed me off. Which, guess certain things ought to be happy that I had to go over to my brother's today and help him in this high heat. So by the time I got back, I was really too wore out and tired and sweaty to even want to talk about it then, which is good because now it allows for coolers to go. But this is the kind of crap I'm talking about. And this is token. This is kind of why we do have an Independence Day. So people that oppose or want to protest have that right, except for this isn't a form of protest. This is a form of incitement, and this is what really pissed me off about this article. And to my fellow friends in North Carolina, heads up. North Carolina social justice activists boycott July 4th, crash other people's cookouts. That's the title of it. It's on the Daily Wire. Really kind of really got to me because they got the image of the Constitution with some of the signatures. John Hancock. Oh, yep, there I see my family's name right there. So it caught my attention quick. In Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina, social justice activists are telling their followers to boycott the 4th of July this year. Which nothing wrong with that. If you guys want to do that, you're entitled to that. That's why we celebrate our Independence Day. Not to buy hot dogs or fireworks. But here's the part where it's no longer constitutional. You're no longer protected by the Constitution. And the fact it very disrespectful, and even to crash other people's cookouts. Well, fair warning to you guys. Also, think this would be cool to crash other people's cookouts and create some disturbance? Just remember, you'll be trespassing on private property. Some states do have castle laws. And laws that, well, I suggest you read up into your state's legislation when it comes to what could happen when you trespass on somebody's property and cause a disturbance. You might want to rethink that. By the way, here in Ohio, if you do that, let's just say the person's property that you decide to do that on, They won't be going to jail. And depends how much of a ruckus you create, you might not be going to jail. They might be calling the paddy wagon. And this is what is so sickening about this. Why would you even tell people to go disrupt people's cookouts? That's not boycott. That's incitement. That's telling people to go out there and somebody's going to get hurt. And guess what? More than likely, it's not going to be the cookout that you try to crash. People there. I don't know where these activists misinterpret the Constitution. In fact, the person that said this should be arrested. And if anything does happen, this person he can, or she, whoever it was, be tried for any crime that's committed that people do. But people think it's okay because we had people like Maxine Waters tell people to do things. We've had celebrities to tell people to do things. Yeah, you know what? I can't wait till the lawsuits start coming in on that and criminal charges come into play on that. Because anybody that gets hurt because of your incitement, you're just as guilty for telling people to do it. They say to refuse. They say they refuse to celebrate until America addresses what they see as an epidemic racism. There's that racism word, and I called that last week. They're gonna try to push that again. One referred to the current climate as Trump terror. Durham minister and activist Paul Scott, well, I guess we got a name, who has retarded his call to boycott the 4th of July. Reiterated his call to boycott the 4th for a week, said. I hope it's going to start a chain reaction. On Instagram, he wrote, people are asking, what can I do as an individual to make things better? Well, one thing everybody can do is boycott the 4th of July. Scott continued, we are experiencing a rise in radical hatred. We have children of immigrants being torn away from their parents. Oh, there we go. There's the other heated debate. And by the way, it's illegal immigrants. Paul Scott, get your verbiage right. Away from their parents. In this era of Trump terror. I don't think many Americans have too much to celebrate this year. He added on Instagram, don't buy fireworks, don't buy drinks, don't buy none of that. This will send a message to this country that will no longer tolerate injustice. You know what I gotta tell you guys? Go buy all the fireworks you want. In fact, check out Phantom Fireworks. They give great deals for 4th of July. Buy one box, get one free, and other promotional deals. It's where I've always bought my fireworks. Scott was echoed and rallied at a meeting of social justice advocates by community activist Diana Powell, who opinioned this is something that everybody can participate in. Before the meeting, Powell stated on Facebook Live, we want to know what your address is because we're going to be crashing cookouts that day. ABC 11 asked Powell how she would address those who accused her of being divisive and unpatriotic. She responded, you look at the gentrification, the homelessness, the struggle, the drugs, it affects us. Do we really feel like we're included? No. Wait, but yet you're putting more emphasis on, well, at least Scott is putting more emphasis on immigrants, or the proper verbiage is illegal immigrants. They don't give a damn about the homeless or the drug addicts. But, you know, they rather promote the violence, go crash people's parties. Crashing someone's party on the Independence Day is not protected under the Constitution because you're committing various crimes. Boycotting? Sure, you're entitled to that. Protest? You're entitled to that as long as it stays peaceful, as long as you're not inciting. You see, history is starting to repeat itself. We have politicians who wants to use improper verbiage, improper legal language, and mislead people. The fact is, we're not dealing with immigration, we're dealing with illegal immigration. Immigration is those that come here legally. They follow the process. Those that apply for visas, student visas, work visas, those that seek asylum. That's the legal way. Those are true immigrants. Once they go through the rest of the process, if they so choose to become U.S. citizens. Those that cross our border illegally, which is what they're talking about, they're not immigrants. Yep. Guess the next storm's coming in. And that is the problem with today. We have people out there that are setting people up for failure. You guys don't realize it. They're trying to cause civil unrest. They want people to be out there doing something stupid. That's not what our Independence Day is about. Our Independence Day is about using our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our laws that protect us, and at the same time is what keeps us free, what allows them to go out there and to protest and boycott and do those such things. Nothing wrong with that, as long as it's kept peacefully. But they don't. For some odd reason, we have people that don't want that. They talk about racism. What racism? We're Americans. There's no racism. But yet, so many people want to believe that. They want to class themselves and label themselves as a color, as a nationality, except represent the nationality they are, Americans. You should never be baited into racism because you're an American. You're a U.S. citizen. That's who you are. That's who you were supposed to be proud to be. That's why we celebrate our Independence Day. Those freedoms. All those that are running their mouths trying to incite, they won't go live in no other country like Iraq, Iran, China. You want to know why? Because they value their freedom. They value their control and power. That should tell you something. You know, we're supposed to be celebrating all the good things. The reason why we had a revolutionary war was to break away from the rule of the crown, to get away from the oppression. You know, and people are under the misconception that if we end that, as they want to use the term soft civil war, you guys are delusional. If you think even think this will end in a civil war. It will end in a revolutionary war where we'll be fighting for our very country. And that's something you guys should all wake up to. Don't realize that we have enemies that are waiting for us to be at each other's throat, so divided that they can come marching in, bring in the UN, flood our border. No, no, you guys don't want a civil war. Not even a little bit. You guys don't even understand the whole picture. And they choose out of all the times to be insightful, to rile people up to get them to do something. 2 weeks before our Independence Day, didn't anybody think that was odd? You know, as an American, I'm a proud American. And I call the immigration for what it is, illegal. There's a right way to do it. There's been a right way since the founding of this country. It was written into our laws. You just don't come here freely. You don't do that in any other country. In fact, in most countries you do that, you'll be shot or imprisoned. No, but they found something that they could further divide people, pit people against each other. Every time you turn around on the social media platforms, somebody's trying to censor, shadow ban. Oh, you're unsafe for this platform. But yet I see the whole one-sidedness. I see people that can tweet what they want, full of hate, threaten, and they don't get messed with. Seen where a pedophile could post pedophile on Twitter. Pedophilia on Twitter. Took over a week and almost 10,000 people reporting the account before they suspended the account. Where's the FBI at? They should be investigating Twitter for failure to do their job. Where's Congress? To They wanted to scream, you need to censor. Wow, there's a crime that's been committed. But yet Twitter allowed it to go. See, it's gotten to the point where people forget. On a free speech platform, anybody that promotes a free speech platform, you're going to encounter everything. You're going to encounter both sides, different religious beliefs, and I agree on many aspects that you can't have threatening people threatening. You can't have them posting pedophilia, bestiality. There's stuff where we draw the line at. The stuff that we know is illegal. Do they have a right to hate speech? Yes, they do. Our Constitution's been very clear on that. You know, they have the right to express themselves, speak freely, until it goes from expression to action, to a threat. Then it's no longer free speech. Then it's no longer expression. When you incite, tell people to go do things, that's no longer free speech. That's no longer expression. So many people seem to want to blur the lines on that. They want to interpret it as they see fit. Oh, you have this person on here, he believes this, he's posting this. They have that right. You have the right to ignore it, not read it. Don't follow them. But don't judge them because they have that right to do that on a platform that claims to be free speech. You know, we live in a day and age where People are just tired. They're not tired of Trump. You know what they're really tired of? They're tired of the corruption. They're tired of being fed lies and manipulated every day by media. Once more, we're seeing history repeat itself. We're seeing people being pitted against each other, drawing lines and adhering to labels that don't even care about you, doesn't even represent you. All they care about is themselves. How much money they can put in their pockets. How much control can they actually control? They want people scared to go out and not celebrate, go watch the fireworks, go to the parades. They want people living in fear that something's going to happen. Don't you guys see the picture? You know, I've stated this a couple of 2 videos ago, what I think about all that rhetoric. You know, I still hear some people saying, well, we need to do something. We need to. And it's like, you guys don't get it. That's fine. You will get it, especially when you guys get your wish. And you find out how alone you really are. Because you're just as guilty as those pushing the very same rhetoric. You can't do nothing when we're so divided. Nothing. You already lost. And those that know that and understand that don't want to see anything jump off. They want things to calm down. Before you can even do anything, you gotta mend the fences. Why do you think it's the push to indoctrinate the youth? The push to rile up the youth? Why do you think they've stripped so much of our history that's being taught in schools now to our kids? Why do you think they push UN agendas into our college systems, even to our high schoolers, freshmen, juniors? That's not our Constitution. That's not what our country is based on. It's not what it stands for. Our country's called America, not the UN. And the UN's not even a country. It's a group of countries. And they all got to pay dues to it. Figure that one out. So who's really behind the curtain? You know, our Independence Day that we're going to celebrate tomorrow is about our freedoms, our liberties, standing up for those who are oppressed, remembering all the heroes that put their lives on the line on a daily basis as fights for the very concept of our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, the very thing that we stand up for. This should be a lesson to everyone. The things we've heard our politicians say this last 7 months. Those that want to violate and defile our Independence Day, those who want to incite people to violence, show them what America is really about. Use and exercise why we celebrate Independence Day come November at your polling booth is do not re-elect them. That's what they fear most. Many of them that are speaking out are in fear they might not get re-elected. That's what all the censorship's about on all these platforms. Every social media platform, including hosting providers that threaten Gab. If you don't remove that post, we'll terminate your hosting service. Forcing them because they don't have their own servers. Which I'd hope by now that Gab has realized that and have their own servers. So they're not tied to some server that can manipulate and control their site. Because if not, Gab's no different than the rest. Happened once, it'll happen again. You know, see that is the biggest problem of them all. Corporations do what they want, don't have to worry about honoring our country's laws, our constitutional rights. But yet, I think it's funny because every other country out there, they have no problem adhering to that country's laws, except for here in the United States. We have Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook blatantly saying, I'm adhering to what the UN wants. Really? Okay. And we wonder why Facebook is starting to fail and fall. We celebrate Independence Day. I remember growing up, you'd hear from people that from other countries would say what they thought made America so great, the American dream, the freedoms we have. That's what we celebrate, guys. Those freedoms and liberties, those rights, the protections they give us. That's why people wanted to come here, away from these third world shitholes, these countries that oppress them, that doesn't treat them equal. These are the very same things that makes us so hated. Because that's what everybody around the world wants. They want what we have. They want that freedom, those liberties. Why do we celebrate Independence Day? We celebrate it to always remember why our founding fathers fought, bled, died, our ancestors, on the idea of freedom, of independence from Britain. Yes, it started with taxation without representation at the Boston Tea Party, then followed by the shot heard around the world the British are coming. If we keep going down this road, it won't be the British that are coming. Be white vehicles with UN on them and blue hat soldiers. That's what you need to wake up to. That's what you need to understand. We have politicians that have sold this country out, that are representing just not our Congress and the federal level, but even in our state levels, we have mayors doing the same thing. We have Hollywood celebrities that want to incite violence, that want to talk about immigration, but they don't want to talk about the very homeless people that they have in their backyards. Since California has one of the highest homeless populations to date, Hollywood celebrities don't care about them. They rather talk about immigrants, immigration. We need to protect the immigrants. No, you do not need to protect illegals, people that have violated our laws, that are taxing our system. Right there should show you how much they really care about American citizens. They don't. And they wonder why no movies is making any money right now. People are tired of their crap. They're tired of the scandals. They're tired of them thinking they're better than everybody else and can do what they want and commit whatever heinous crime. We're talking about the very same ones that talk the talk. When it comes time to walk the walk, they'll be hiding, sitting on some beach somewhere, laughing at everybody that followed them, saying, "Look at these suckers." They don't believe in anything but what fills their pockets. In truth, they become no better than prostitutes. Because, in a sense, that's what they are doing. A legal form of prostitution. Selling their voice and mouths to whatever label and spreading the label's rhetoric, all for a paycheck. I know tomorrow, I'm going to get up, have some barbecue, go up go up this small little blip of the map that I live in for a town. Well, I live outside because I live in the country, but small little blip of the map that's a mile up the road. Enjoy the community's parade, which is small, but enjoy the fellowship with community. Those that want to honor our Independence Day, that those that respect what it means, the patriotism behind it. Two things are certain. We won't have no provocateurs in our area. Might even go enjoy some fireworks right from my own backyard. Celebrate it amongst family and friends. many of which who have served this country. Those that know why it's so important to protect our independence, protect our Constitution. And much like last year, I will do a live stream. It'd be an open stream for anybody that wants to join in. Just talk about whatever. Talk about the topics of the day. Why our Independence Day is so important to you. Because that's what it's about. That very freedom to come on here and celebrate our freedoms, our liberties. Enjoy some drinks, some barbecue, and fellowship with some friends and family and neighbors. Because in some countries, you can't even do that. To those that were thinking about causing unrest tomorrow, think about that. Because that's what you're pushing for when you start listening to these celebrities and these corrupt politicians that have committed treason against our own country. They want you to be like other countries where you can't have family and friends and neighbors over to a picnic or a barbecue. To where your women have to wear hijabs and be treated like dirt. That's what they want for you, for us here in America. That's what these politicians are selling us out for. But yet, so many are going to, come election time, put these same people back in office because they've been blinded that you can only vote one way. It's got to be red or it's got to be blue. Instead of voting for the person that's going to uphold your Constitution, protect your rights and freedoms. That's not going to sell you out to the UN or some other country. Take oaths to another country. I thought last weekend, what happened in Portland. For those that don't get it, I want to be quite clear on this. When you got two groups that are known for being provocateurs, Antifa, Proud Boys, don't buy into it. Don't let them catch you up. They're not about our independence. Many of which we know, we've seen, we've showed, plenty of people have showed you the documentation, how they've been paid to go there anyway. Yeah, when I seen that, the first thing I seen Proud Boys, I was like, oh, really? Why are you giving this attention? You got two groups that's all they want to do. Cause unrest. They want something to happen, to turn into something bigger. Some of the drawback to media and social media, some things gets too much attention when it shouldn't get no attention. Shouldn't even be retweeted a half a dozen times and shared. Sometimes silence can work in your favor. Because when you start seeing those images every day, every other feed, it becomes like a cancer. It's kind of people don't understand when we say information overload. When you start seeing something in a repetitive nature, it imprints onto your mind. Most people aren't smart enough to step away from it, turn it off. They just keep scrolling and scrolling, picking up on the negativity, feeding it, which makes them easier to manipulate and to incite. You know, these ain't new tactics. They're old. But before we can ever do anything, we have to unite, not continue to further divide. That's why I've been doing, you know, the series on broken systems to educate people to look at the real mechanisms that keep these things broken. Either Thursday or Saturday, I'm going to do the next one in this series, the education system, because that's something we have to discuss. That's just as important as the first two I discussed. Because that's what they're using to manipulate, to influence our children, our youth, our young adults. The very ones that haven't really experienced life yet. You haven't truly experienced life till well after you're past 25, and you still haven't experienced life. You're always experiencing something new, learning something new, learning what works, don't work, learning that, wow, I've been misled, manipulated. Tricked and deceived. Why? Because people don't research things. They don't question things. They don't exercise those freedoms they have to access knowledge and information, to research. I mean, it was like earlier today before I left for my brother's. I actually had to do some research on something that somebody brought to my attention. And come to find out, yeah, I do believe he might be right on something. You know, because I've seen some of the little glitches and headaches I've been having with YouTube here the past couple weeks. One is some of the things I've been talking about. So from here on out, guys, this is what I'm going to recommend to you. Those that watch this stream, especially those that watch this now, don't watch it from your cell phones. Just a little heads up on that one. I'm going to further research it and contact a few people I know to get the complete confirmation on it. But yeah, I would recommend not watching at least my videos from your cell phones. Probably wouldn't recommend it for anybody else that's been talking about similar things. You know, I tried to tell you guys how much control you guys actually have, how much power you actually have. Because honestly, right now, we need to be mending fences and uniting, not dividing. You ask any soldier out there that's served, that's a vet, or currently serving, ask them about some of the topics we've talked about all the division. What would happen if what the politicians are telling people, what the news has been telling people, really happens? Ask them what it'd be like. Ask them their honest opinion about how divided we are, what would happen. Because apparently some people just don't get it. So ask the ones that really know. The ones that have served and continue to service our country about military tactics when it comes to dividing people and causing division. You know, everything happens for a reason. There's no such thing as coincidence. When rhetoric starts shifting and they start doing the things they've been doing with such repetition, it's for a reason. And now we've heard the reason. So let's not fall victims and be the idiots that cause what they want. When you have the power to say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to react. We're not going to cause unrest, disturbances. But what we are going to do, very same thing I've been doing, we're going to start putting it out there, telling people, showing them, spreading the message of unity over division, showing people how they're being deceived and tricked into something that has a much bigger picture and much more consequences, to where you could kiss all these freedoms goodbye if they keep going down the road that they're going. And that's what some of these politicians want. Some of these mayors and governors and state elected officials want. They want full control of the narrative. They want to tell you when you can leave your house and when you can't. They want to tell you what you can say, type, post on social media. Are these the type of people you want to be holding that power in office? I'm the first person upset here. We need changes. A lot of changes. That change starts with who we've been putting in office. It's time to stop putting the same people back in office. Because I can tell you what's going to start happening. I've stated this before. Beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. Because eventually they're going to get so sick and tired of it, they're going to try to infiltrate the other side. Just so they can continue along those lines. That's why it's important as we, the people, stay informed. Do our research on these politicians in our states that are running for Congress, that's running for our state levels. Do the research. What are they about? How have they voted in the past? Those are the people. When you do that research, you'll know. You'll know exactly who and who they are. Are they about the people, for the people? Or are they just another corrupt politician that sold themselves out to a corporation or another country? For those that may be watching live, hey Brie, I was wondering if my chat room was working. I'm not getting the correct view counts still. But right now is not the time to be causing any unrest. And for real, whoever said crash 4th of July cookouts, don't be the stupid one that does that. Realize what they're trying to do. Trying to manipulate you and trick you into causing something to happen. Actually, they're trying to get you to endanger your life. Because some states, and I'm pretty sure North Carolina is one of those states, you do that, bad things are going to happen. They're not going to tolerate it. I couldn't believe reading that post. I mean, that really got my blood boiling earlier today. That they would tell people on to disrupt Independence Day. I was cool with the boycott thing. You have that right. In fact, I wish more people would do that on important things. Not rhetoric from politicians or so-called activists that want to destroy our Constitution, destroy our freedoms, destroy the very concept of what we celebrate on the 4th of July. Because that's what they want you to do. They want you to go out there, cause unrest to a point where something happens to where it escalates to such a point where state of emergency has to be declared, or a national emergency. And if that happens, guess what, guys? Game over. Kiss those freedoms goodbye. Your idea of being able to peacefully go protest and do those things, yeah, you won't be able to do that anymore. Now, do you see the idiocy, idiocy that, well, the idiocy that they're trying to trick you into, the manipulation that they're manipulating you to? That's why I've lately been saying a lot of people need to stop and take a look in the mirror. Change don't start outside. Change don't start with other people. It starts with you. You got to be making the changes first. You've got to start questioning things before you can even think about making change happen elsewhere. If you're not willing to make those changes that need to be made with yourself, then nothing's going to come about. Nothing can come about while we're divided. And that's why they want us so divided, pitted against each other. But so many people don't get that, don't understand that, can't see that. Last year I thought we got lucky after Charlottesville. Yes, it does. Free Spirit Press. It does. Change does equal sacrifice. Because everything seemed to settle down afterwards. But as summer's approaching, once more, they want to throw the race card in there. They want to throw illegal immigration in there and call it by, say it's immigration when it's pure illegal immigration. You know, we celebrate Independence Day because we celebrate those freedoms and liberties, the very thing that they keep trying to strip away and take from us. Some say, well, we're being shadow banned, we're being censored, we don't have freedoms. You got more freedoms than you realize. Because the fact is, alright, fine, they want to do that. Boycott works two ways. We can just boycott the platforms. Turn it off for a week. 2 weeks if necessary, 3 weeks if necessary. When they don't get that traffic, it hurts them the most because that's money that they're not receiving. See, people get the concept, oh, these are free platforms. Oh, no, no, no. We miss the concept of that any person that's built a website understands. They get paid by the traffic on their sites, on these platforms. The amount of traffic comes in equals dollar signs, equals money. It equals investors, advertisers. People aren't seeing their ads. People aren't logging in. Eventually, yes, they're going to fix it so we can no longer come on here and do the things we do. Many platforms are going to turn to pay to play to weed people out. Or say your videos aren't creative enough for our standards. Or we don't agree with your opinions and views. And even when it goes pay to play, guess what? They're still going to do the same thing. They'll wait a little bit. They'll rake in the money. And they'll start weeding those out that are paying to play. You know, the reality of it is the only way this stops is when our Congress writes legislation and law making and forcing these corporations to honor our constitutional rights, our laws. That's where it needs to be. Which means when they do that, it'll immediately have to go in front of the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court's going to have to re-rule on the ruling they made about corporations being able to spend as much money as they want on these political campaigns, because it was that very same verbiage that they use that opened this loophole to where these corporations and social media platforms, because they're a corporation, can say, well, we don't have to honor the people's constitutional rights. Which I think is BS, because every other country out there can make all these platforms honor their laws, but ours. And that should tell you something. They scream influence the election, but you don't hear them talking about all these corporations that donated to the DNC, RNC, and whatever other label they want to use for campaign funds. When many of these corporations, as we know, are foreign owned. So we're taking another country's money and dumping it into our politicians' campaign funds. But no, that's not influenced our election at all, right, guys? That alone is exactly why we had a Revolutionary War. Taxation without representation. Another country trying to control us by money, greed, corruption. By saying we had to obey their laws, pay their taxes. All right. You see, we celebrate our Independence Day because of people that believed that we should have these freedoms, these liberties, that we shouldn't suffer the persecutions that they had to, that we shouldn't be oppressed, that we should be all treated equally. justly, treated as free men and women with equality and equal rights, not by our color of our skin, not by our sex, which they've been constantly throwing in our face, but by the fact that we're U.S. citizens, we're Americans. By birth, these liberties and freedoms are ours. You know, so many people have fallen into the mindset of diversity. You guys understand diversity is division, right? Simple understanding of words and the root derivative of words and how they're made up. Div is to divide. Anything with a div in it means division. So therefore diversity equals division, not equality, not liberty, not freedom, not rights. But yet they want to promote it as that. Through diversity we have transgenderism, which, no offense to those that are transgender, I don't have a problem with it. The bottom line is you can't change your DNA. You're still male or female no matter what operations you go through, no matter how many hormones you take. You can't change your DNA. And that very DNA makeup dictates that you're male or female. Can't change that. Now, if you guys want to pretend and role play to be something, that's cool. But just realize that's fantasy. It's not reality. It's actually causing a problem with your self-identity. It's stripping away your self-identity. Stripping away of who you are. Which thus, therefore, you're becoming closed off to the person you are, no longer listening to that inner voice inside you, your soul. So quit falling for the diversity propaganda. Because in the end, you can't change your DNA. In the end, all they want to do is further divide people. Female to male, male to female. Guess what? Still homosexuality, no matter what you do. So you just don't want to call yourself bis or homosexuals anymore. Eh, I don't care. See, I talk about it. Yes, that's all it is. It's just labels. Labels are to categorize, subcategorize, and divide. Why do we create labels? Ah, We create labels to put something in a category. Then we subcategorize it to further divide it. To single it out. To single a group of people out. Dividing it from the rest of the group. That's what labels do. That's what, when you adhere to, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm independent, I'm a socialist, Marxist, therapeutist, a philosopher, Christian, witch, pagan, heathen, heretic. They're all labels meant to divide and subdivide. Instead of being what you are, a human being. A proud American, a proud male, a proud female, a proud straight person, a proud gay person. I respect that more than I respect anything. You know, I don't care what your label is. That's not who I'm getting to know. I don't care if you pee standing up or sitting down. I care about the person I'm interacting, that connection we form. The ability to share ideas, beliefs, opinions, and views. The very concept of freedom. Freedom to be who you want to be. And be respected for it. Some people say, well, you just said, yes, I said transgenderism is a false reality. It's an illusion. Because in the end, that's not the person I see before me. That's not the person I've had an interaction, conversation with. But the point is, you've gotten away from what you're meant to be. If you're going to be gay, I respect that. Or homosexual, whatever term or label you want to use. But I also ask the same respect that you respect me as a straight person. You know, it's funny how we gotta class ourselves as metrosexual, heterosexual, homosexual. And yes, those labels continue on. But yet, all you're doing is dividing yourself from what you really are. You're trying to play the caste system and place yourself into a category or a higher standard than what you really are, instead of being yourself, a natural human being that has free will to choose to be whatever they want at the time, to experience whatever they want at the time. See, they use these labels to as buttons so they can push, trigger, sow discord and deceit and hatred. They use these labels to divide us, to make you forget that what you really are, an American, a US citizen, a human, something to be proud in, something to be proud to say, I'm an American. I'm proud to be a white male, a white female, a black male, a black woman. But instead, when you start talking about those things, you become homophobic, racist, sexist. Once more labels to divide us. We're supposed to be celebrating our Independence Day, the very concept that's supposed to draw us together in unity. Draw us together as free men and women, free to be whatever label you choose, but knowing that it's not dividing us, it's drawing us together as Americans. Say they want to destroy the symbolism of patriotism, symbolism of our flag, our Pledge of Allegiance. How do they do this? By creating various labels to get people to categorize themselves, to pull them away from that unity. And people fall for it. People buy into it. To where now they want to incite people to tarnish our Independence Day. To those that wish to do that, I suggest you go study your history. Ask yourself, why do we celebrate Independence Day? Why do we value our freedom, our liberty? Why do they want us on Independence Day to not celebrate, come together as Americans? That's the questions you should be asking. There's probably tons more you should be asking. Why do they want us so divided? I'll tell you why. It's called divide and conquer. Divided we all fall. When we're unified, we're unstoppable. When we're unified, that's when true liberty and freedom rings. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, I was going to try to keep this under an hour, which I think I failed miserably already at. And like I said, tomorrow I'll be doing a live podcast. It'll be an open podcast, so anybody that wants to join in will be able to join me on Hangouts. And we'll celebrate our Independence Day together. To all those that are traveling, be safe. Those that will be out there drinking tomorrow, I think I'll probably be one myself. Remember to get a designated driver, don't get behind the wheel. I'd like to be able to hear from you guys the following day. Be responsible. Happy Independence Day, everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow.